those magnificent men in their flying machine. They go up to the up, up, they go down to the up, down.
Okay, so I spent a while on this today, so as you can see I've put the actual fuses almost all there together, so it's quite a bit of work cutting it out to get it all in there. Excuse me, but I've got a terrible cold. So the cockpit's ready there, and a bit of the face shield, we can see it on the front. So that's that bit, and then of this red stuff I might add is the paint that you use, fuel proofing paint, which is fantastic stuff, which I might add is called, not that. Oh. See, people have asked me about this before, so you can see like solar. I don't think you can still get this stuff, but it's brilliant and it lasts forever, so it's good. And that'll fuel proof it. That's what we do. And then here we have the cap, and as you can see, the reason they're only in there to, like, when I was building it, that was just to keep them in place whilst the glue stuck to the, you know, the ply. So as we go, it goes on like so. It's hard to do this with one hand. There you go. There you go. And there it is. So one fuse. So that's the basics of it. And then obviously here we've got your moulded bit, which that comes with the kit. So obviously cut out this. And what I tend to do is I'll cut out round it, and then it goes on the front like so, blah blah blah. But what I'll do is I'll put a thin piece of wood round down the sides, so it's got something to glue to, you know, when it's on. And that'll be that bit there, and that's the main bit really. And then what I'm going to do with these is, like, I looked at the pictures of because obviously I'm copying the one from Shuttleworth, so I'm going to put a thin piece of balsa on the sides here and trim it so it looks like the real thing, because these will be on the Shuttleworth collection version. It's all brown, like they seem to have a thing for brown planes, so this will be brown. The struts, I mean, you could get away with just spraying them brown, but it doesn't look right, you know. And then I've got an idea, the wires, the crossbar spars there and there, so we'll do all that and that bit. And then a chap did ask what engine I was putting in, so I think it was a 70 OS, but I'm not sure. I think it's an SC actually. So the engine is brand new engine, so that's the engine that's going in. So it is an SC, and I believe it is a 70, yeah, 70 SC 4-stroke. So that will fit. I won't put it in straight away because it'll muck it up, but that fits in like so. That'll fit in there, so I'll probably leave it on there. So as you can see, there's a lot of issues here because it's higher and that. So, but I mean, obviously you've got to work with that when it goes in and cut around it. But you know, pain in the arse. But that's how it is, I'm afraid. Because I think it needs. I'd rather have an engine that's got a little bit more power to pull it up, because after I add everything onto it, it's going to have that bit of extra weight. I believe the kit does state just to put a 52 FS in it, but I think it would struggle, but I don't know. But anyway, that's what I've got to go in it, so we'll work around that as usual. Jelly. So that's that. Oh, bloody cold, can't shift it at all. So tomorrow I've got another day off, so tomorrow I will fit the engine in, do the fuel tank, put that in, and then probably work on get the wings, so the top wings on and the bottom wing, and then line up the tail plane so it's all straight and square. There's not much, to be fair with this, is you know, I think there's not a lot. I think it's going to be a lot of mucking about with the getting this to be all right, you know, and fitted, and then we allowing for the exhaust out of the 4-stroke, you know, trying to encumber that as much as possible so it doesn't show as much. Other than that, I don't think there's a lot left to it, really. It's not one of my favourite planes, to be honest. I never liked the se5a. I don't think it's a very pretty plane. Brilliant plane in real World War One, but to me, it's not as pretty as like the Pup and the triplanes and that, you know. So, but yeah, it's still a major plane in World War One, so it has to be built, you know, as they do. So yeah, that's about it. So this will look all different tomorrow, definitely. and that, and I'm curious myself now that I can't really reach it, so I can't be bothered too well. So yeah, and then obviously on the top here they've got this moulded, well it ain't moulded, you have to sand it yourself, which I find quite bizarre. So a block of wood you sand in the top of the hood. Yeah, so that's a bit to play with and that. And then I'll try and detail a bit round here when I get to it. Okay? Okay. I ain't done this for a while, putting the camera on a stand and all this, so, but you know, I thought I'd do this just to like, sort of show people. I've done it 100 times in other videos, but I seem to have lost quite a lot of my videos when I lost my laptop and well, it went bust in it, so I've lost everything on it. Anyway, so this is basically roughly, I show you how to cover an aeleron with Solatex, because Solatex is the best covering material I've ever come across. It's easy to work with, a lot easier than all the new plastic, the solar filament stuff. But anyway, so I find it's only a personal preference. As I said in the other video, which I haven't put on yet, you cut all your pieces to size, so you got all that ready. Hence that. Like I said, this is old. I'm using all the old Solatex I've got because this is going to be sprayed brown to cover the Shuttleworth colour scheme on their plane. So it doesn't really matter about the top part of the wings and that. So that's the idea, right? So with Solatex, I tend to set it at, I don't know if you see it on there, but I set it. I'll have a check to see if it works. Yeah, I set it at about 170. But people have different heating settings, but I prefer 170 because that's what I'm used to working with, and the iron and stuff. Alright, so you can just peel it. You've got that set. Now I need a few tips to play with. As you can see, I'll just make sure I've got this here. I'm going to get up to the camera a bit better. But when you got the extremities like that, where the spars are going to go onto, and ribs and shit and everything else, or whatever you want to call it, the struts, I always put a piece in first, cut it and put it in, so that just purely because it saves having to faff about with getting it right there, you know. So you got, it makes it easier basically to cover. So for instance, I've got it there now, and you position it back. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it in the camera. So you roughly position it. You've cut it to size already. Put your finger over it like that. So you got to have, so you see, you can just basically, it allows you a bit of license to cut it. If you make a slight mistake, like, you won't have to worry about. So you can cut it any length you want because it's already done. See what I mean? So that way you've got it set, ready to go. Right, so you've got that there. I'll try and keep it in camera. I apologise if it isn't in focus half the time. Right, so you just run it around. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that cover it totally different to me, but this is just the way I do it. And I'll try and, I usually do it quite quick, so I'll try and be a bit slower so you can see what I'm doing. You just get the shape. Like you do. Right. I'm trying to do it slow, it's really weird. So you get your outline, roughly on your outline of your wing like so. And like I said, Solatex is just, it's so easy to work with. It's a lot more forgiving than other coverings, like hobby clean covering and stuff like that, or any, you know, solar film, you know, they're all, because they're like thin plastic, whereas this is linen-y, it's a lot easier to use. Now, I've already covered that side, as you can see, and you notice as well, I haven't ironed over it to make it solid, because I tend to do it this way so that it doesn't warp anything. So you've got your, main shape there you go. Right, you can do it two ways. You can either, if I was doing the bottom part first, I usually just coat it right over and cut it rough. And like I said, this is being sprayed, so it won't even matter. Alright, you've got your edges. You get a sharp pair of scissors, which is probably you cut your angles there. So you got that one there. You cut one there. This just takes a bit of practice, but eventually you pick it up. It's like everything, you just pick it up. Now what I do is I get the width of the scissors, right, and I use the width as a guide. Keep it as tight to the actual doodah. If you can cut it in one, if you've got really sharp scissors, which you really should use, then you've got it nice and a nice finished trim. If you're not spraying it like me, so it doesn't really matter for me at the moment. So you got the width for the scissors. Keep to the width for the scissors. So these are starting to wear out, but you see what I mean. Run it like you do, right down to the end, and that gives you a nice even finish there along the side of the thing, especially. And if it does go over a bit, just trim it with a blade. Or the scissors if they're good enough. Right, you got that bit, trim the edge. It's always the edges that I find are a bit buggery. Right, so you got to this bit now, and you want to get an angle. So obviously you want to keep it nice and neat. So you trim it at an angle like so. Okay, you're going to have an overlap there, so you can play with that by just, like I said, it's practicing. Just, it's being sprayed. Right, so you got that. Okay, so you just concede it to the end if you want it nice and even there, or you just guess it with you, guesstimate it. Bigger, well, I use a bigger pair of scissors. These are not very sharp, these, so that, again, you can either use the width for the scissors like that to get, well, I'll do it that way, so we'll keep it in form. See? But these ain't as sharp, so that gives you a nice even finish. And then your points there, you got your points there. Trim them like so. Right. And there. Right. Put a little cut in there. It's like Blue Peter, isn't it? Right, so you've got your basics now. They're all there. Iron it over. Normally I would be like zipping through this because it's just normal. Right, so you get a nice finish there. Same with that. Just go on the edges. And tend to like wrap the iron around it like that. Right, now I would say take your time. You know, it's just because I love covering. I must admit that's my favourite part of building, if I must admit. Some people hate the covering and they get nervous over it, which is, to be fair, I was like that at the very beginning, because Solatex, as people will know, it's cheap. That's probably one of the reasons why they sort of suffered a bit. But it's worth the money, definitely, in the end. Plus you can spray it and everything else, it's great. So you've got it now, so you've got it's all loose like that. And what I tend to do is you just go over it with the top of the iron, like so. Yeah, so you get a nice finish. See, that's that. Now, I'm going to show you an example, if you can see it on this camera. So that's it finished, see? Job done. Now, this is what I mean. You see there, if you can, I'll try and get it in the camera. You can see the whites under there. Now, if this was like the normal, I usually don't use coloured Solatex because I usually use the same colour because it's cheaper to buy it all in one. But because I'm going to spray this and I need to use as much as I can of the old stock, because if you've already put a piece underneath, that won't be showing when if you're not spraying this. You wouldn't see that, you know. It'll be hidden, especially when you put your strut on. So that's why I always put bits underneath, like so it's all pre-done. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is basically it. Okay. If you want to get the dirt track, stop that, then use a sock over the iron and that, and then take your top of that. But I like that, looks more authentic to me, to be honest. It's not an excuse, it's just the fact it's supposed to be weather, you know, that when the real planes, they weren't like that, you know, they were like quite manky. So there you go. So that's basically that. So now if I roughly move the camera, you can see where I've covered the other wing, so you can see the bottom's done. And again, as you can see on there, if I can get it into the view, I've done the same. Where are you? There's my finger. Oh, I'll move it. Right, I've done the same with these. So you've got that there, and the one up there. So only a row of rough offcuts to do it. So that saves you the hassle. So it's the same principle as on the ailerons. And then also, what I do is, you know where you're covering over and you're folding over, right? I tend to put a piece in first in the corners up to so far, so that when you do cut it, you don't have to worry about getting it all nice in there. And again, like I say, you wouldn't see that when the aileron goes on, like so, or whatever, I don't know, right? Most of that's hidden in a way. So you know, you've got your basics there. And obviously you trim this again at the top. And that, some people would say, well, you just cut it when you put the top bit on the other way round. But if you've got two different colours, as I will have, it ain't as easy. So this is just, I find, the easier way to do it. Okay, and again with this wing, again I do the same principle. It's all loose, as you can see. So when I do come to cover the top bit, I do it all at once. So it sort of stops it warping a bit, if you know what I mean. At least that's my theory. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is about that. So my next job is to cover the top wing now with the green, and then once it's all covered and I've got everything running true, ailerons fitted, and that I will spray it, and I'll come to that because there's a mask in it. I personally, with the mask, I use normal household sellotape, but I have found, unless you're very careful with it, you know, it's just basic box standard regular sellotape, put around the edges, it doesn't leak, the spray won't over into the bottom part. It's brilliant. But unfortunately, if you get it on, the residue off the tape is a pain in the backside to clean off your wing afterwards. So unless you've got you do it, mask it up properly, or you can get that lovely duct tape which costs about £10 a reel. And that's better, and you don't have to worry about the overspray, but I use sellotape because I'm used to it. Okay, right then, hope that's helped anybody, and I'll put it on later and see how we get on. Okay, cheerio guys and girls, bye.
Those magnificent men, those magnificent men, those magnificent